Hello, welcome back to the channel. Today I will be covering one of the Ilford films, one of the Ilford Plus range, Ilford FP4 Plus. A black and white film, ISO 125, which is slightly unusual. We'll be getting into this film and understanding everything that you need to know to shoot great photos with it. Whether you are new to film photography or a long-time analog enthusiast, our channel covers all things film, from tips and tricks, film reviews to how-to videos. Subscribe now and keep those notifications turned on so that you never miss a beat. Happy shooting! Ilford FP4 Plus. So the Plus gives you a clue that within Ilford's range, this falls into the same bucket as HP5 Plus, XP2 Plus, but it's ISO 125, so it is the faster cousin, shall we say, of HP5. Not quite a sibling like the Delta ranges, 1, 4, 3200, but definitely a cousin, a plus cousin. Ilford FP4, without the Plus, was introduced in the 60s. In 1968, Ilford brought out FP4 with the marketing material to suggest that this is a fine-grained film, medium speed at the time. At that point, 125 was actually a fairly respectable ISO versus later when 400 became more of a standard. And a lot of the marketing talked about how it could be pushed and pulled quite well, pushed up to 6 stops, pulled by 2 stops, and still being able to be printed to a very large scale. So this became, for many photographers, amateur photographers, because this wasn't a professional film, it didn't fall into the super technical, more pricey range. For lots of amateur photographers, this became a wonderful summer film, something that would cope really well in British summers, that could be shot indoors if you wanted to push it, that could be pulled a little bit if you had loads of sunlight, and would be a really wonderful photo if you're getting detail at an affordable price. In 1990, it was discontinued, well, replaced with FP4 Plus, to show the continuation of the technology to make it an even better emulsion, but maintaining all of the characteristics. Now, at some point, I'm going to have to go back and look up how the numbers and letters work. I wonder whether there was an FP3, FP2. You sort of suspect there was, but I don't want to get totally sidetracked there. I'll look into that and we'll do a separate one of the chronology of Ilford's letters and numbers. So this is available in 35mm, as we have in the Wonderbox. It's available in 120, and it's available in sheet film as well. What I would say about this film, personally, even though it was medium speed at the time, this feels like a slower speed black and white, especially when we know we have Tri-X, like we had in the Wonderbox this month, HP5, Delta 400, T-Max 400, Foma 400, a load of films that are faster than this. I would see this more as an outdoor film, so probably summery still, but unlike when it was first conceived, I probably wouldn't walk it indoors as well. I would shoot 400 speed indoors or in really low light. However, if it's going to be reasonably bright outside, and yes, I know it is winter at the time, but I feel that this will work really well on any day that isn't totally overcast. And again, I'm recording this at the end of December, fingers crossed that January and February give us some light to shoot this. But it will give you a really gorgeous look. Now, when Emma was researching this film for this video, she asked some folks on Twitter what they thought, and there was a lot of love for FP4 in these kind of situations. I particularly enjoyed Richard, who is at Paleo Boy on Twitter, who came up with a new way of describing this film. He said it is buttery. Now, I think that then followed several memes and GIFs around butter being spread on films. What he thinks he means is that the smoothness of the tones as it moves from dark to light and back again is just really gorgeous and smooth, buttery. I love that as an expression. I definitely can think of films that I would never describe as buttery. So actually, I think that's a wonderful descriptor for it. So you'll notice smooth transitions. It's not going to be totally full of grain, jagged, totally contrasty. It will be gorgeous and smooth. So there we go. The first film I've ever described as buttery, and I love it. People talk about the fact that it still maintains a bit more grain than some of the other 100 speed black and white films. So often you'll then find professional emulsions at 100, so Delta 100, T-Max 100. A lot of them will have very, very minimal grain because that's part of their professional range. That's what they're after. Whereas if you're looking for a 100 odd speed film, but with some character, still a bit more grain, then this is a fantastic one. Now, talking about the ISO 125 for a minute, because a lot of cameras won't have that setting, especially more modern ones or point and shoots, often will read 100, 400. and 125 sits very sort of obviously neither on those. In reality, if you shoot this at ISO 100, or if your point and shoot reads the DX code and just says that's 100 speed, you will not notice any difference, especially because we know that this film is flexible. It can be pulled down 2, pushed up 6. This isn't something that's gonna like totally kill your photo if you're not bang on. So do not worry about the fact it's 125. Meter at 100, absolutely fine. In fact, there's a couple of folks on Twitter, Alice Riordan talked about this, that actually they tend to shoot it always at ISO 200 and it does really well. And actually Ilford themselves say if you're gonna develop it in microphone, then shoot it in 200 and develop it as normal in there. That will give you some really, really lovely grain. So loads of things to play with, but I think the main point here is don't worry about the fact that it's a slightly strange ISO number. It'll be absolutely perfect at 100 or really 200. There you go. Gorgeous photo. Now for Wonderbox shooters, I think what I will be looking at this week is shooting it with a bit of light. So find a day that's going to be the sunniest and shoot it under nice lighting in order to show that butteriness that Richard talked about. If you want to push it, obviously take that as a challenge as well. If you've shot it a lot in light before and it's a surprise to you that Ilford say you can push it 6 stops, then push it 6 stops and show us exactly what happens to the contrast in the grain as it moves up into the 800, 1600 territory that you would normally never take a film that's rated at 125. But of course, this is the fun of it. Very different look to Tri-X last week, but hopefully something that you will really, really enjoy. Please share any photos you get, and I'll see you again next week.